Hey, good morning everyone. Welcome back to Outpost Review. You can see all this stuff behind me right here. I'm getting ready to install the piping or the flue for the wood stove. Now I got probably more than what I need. I'm not sure yet because it's 30 minutes to town from here, and I don't want to have to run back and forth unless I absolutely have to. So whatever I don't use, I'll take back. But I got 3 of these right here. This is the 6-inch triple wall stainless steel. I got 4 pieces of this 8-inch black pipe right here. I've got a reducer that goes from the 8-inch to the 6-inch because that's an 8-inch coming out of the back of or the top of the stove there. And then I also got a kit that goes out the side of the wall right here. That might be a little bit better picture that you can see right there. So that's what it's going to look like coming out of the back of the stove, or the top of the stove actually, go out and turn and go up. What I'm going to do today is try to get as much of this installed as I can. The next couple of days are supposed to be up around 60 degrees, and hopefully I can get that installed. I framed out the wall yesterday, so I actually had to move one of the studs back there to hold the flange that goes through the wall. But since I have horizontal 2x4s going crossways to mount my siding to, it's not going to mount to a real big difference. Okay, you can see where my stove is sitting right now, and this is where I want it to go through the wall. Because what I've got planned on doing, I've got some cinder blocks left out there, some 8x16s. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the stove up on top of those blocks, and I'll build a form, and I'll leave about maybe an inch or so to go around the outside of the block, and I'll actually pour concrete in there. But in the meantime, I'm going to just set it up on the blocks until next spring, and that way it'll allow me to use it temporarily. But anyway, I want to bring the stove up some because I don't want it sitting right on the floor. And this is the top. I've kind of got this level now, so I measured from here. I want to come up the height of a block plus 1 inch because I'm going to allow a 1-inch cap to go across the top and lay some rock in there. So what I want is to come up, the blocks are actually 7.5. I wanted it to come up 8.5. So what I did was I took a straight edge and I marked across the top right here, made this level. And then I got 2 marks on my post right here where I want this to come up to. So what I'm fixing to do is drill and tap some holes right here to hold this, so that as I'm building out, I can actually have this built and set where I'm going to put it permanently. So, all right, this is the portion that actually goes on the outside of the wall, and this flange actually comes up right there. And this will screw onto the siding. Right here on the inside of this, it was bent out just a little bit, so I took some fire retardant sealant and I kind of put in there because you can actually see the fire retardant insulation that they had in there. Just a really small portion, but this right here is actually where this is going to hook on to. Okay, so that's what this big piece is. This actually slides over the inner portion, which is behind me right here. Like, I turn it sideways here. This is actually the sleeve for the wall right there. Okay guys, I've got some marks where my plate actually goes right here, and what I did was I made myself up a template because I'm going to have to slide this around back here, and I'm going to have to screw this on to the side, and then I've got another one to go down here, and then I can go outside and staple that, and then I can cut this out right here. Alright, you can see what I did. I went ahead and mounted that frame here, then I went on the outside and I actually cut where my pieces went to, and then I went ahead and took some more pieces of this 1x4 and actually screwed that onto the back of the plastic back there so that it's sandwiched in now, and everything is good to go. So as soon as we get this raised up, I'm fixing to install the back of this. As soon as I get that raised up and get that temporary pipe, we'll be in business and ready to rock with some heat in here. I do have a couple more pieces of Durock. I'm gonna have to stand up back here temporarily so that the heat doesn't travel back that far. But yeah, I think we should be in good shape. I actually did have to put a little bit of a belly in this because I had in mind this, and this is larger, so I actually took it out there and made a little bit of a belly so that this would go through there. But what I'm fixing to do now is put these behind there because they're all the same size. This will be the distance of everything when I actually get done with it. From time to time we get lots of questions, and in general they're all the same question. But you know, I realize that is from new people who are signing on who have not watched any of the previous videos. And one question that keeps coming up over and over and over again is, why is everything torched? Well, it's kind of the same aspect of pressure treated wood. You know, when you pressure treat something, it tends to last a lot longer outside in the elements. Burning wood is a long-standing tradition with many different cultures. There is a term that everybody's probably familiar with called shosugiban, which is a Japanese term. But they burn a lot of their wood, and what it does is it burns the outer layer, the cells of the wood. It burns those off and turns them to char. And then that next layer is kind of like your skin. You got the epidermis, and then you got the dermis, and then you got your subdural layer. The cells on the inner portion begin to close up, so it kind of makes it more watertight. Charring it does help, I don't think that a lot of the bugs are interested in the charred wood either, so it's kind of a repellent to a lot of different bugs. But there's a lot of benefits to burning the wood. So I understand that there's one business in Texas where you can actually buy wood that's been burned, and they actually have different grades of burn, like the real dark, a little bit lighter dark, then they have a medium, then they have a medium to light, and then they have a light. So depending on your project, like this right here, you could have a light or a light medium or a medium burn on this, and it wouldn't be totally black, but it would look really good. So that's something that is, I guess, fairly new. I've talked about the floors in there on the cabin. I had seen where somebody had taken plywood. Now, of course, they cut it up in strips. I'm not going to do that. But what they did was they actually burned it, and then they put it down kind of like hardwood flooring, you know. So instead of, you know, cutting it in 6-inch or 12-inch strips and then staggering those joints, I'm just going to lay mine just like I did in here, because I'm not that particular about it. But I think I'm going to burn the plywood that I get, and after I do that, then I will take and put a clear coat on it, and I think it'll look really good. I think it'll match the whole decor that I've got going on here. I've got all those beams, and I even had a comment from someone saying that I thought the beams were going to be exposed. They are. You'll be able to see every beam on the inside. The reason that I went back and added that angle iron, and I've talked about this several times, when I started to build from the ground up, I had been looking at something, and I thought, well, I wonder how much metal is to add to that. Because if I lost a tenon, or if I had some bugs that, say, maybe had chewed through the pins, wooden pins that I've got in there, and they got loose, you know, for whatever reason, you know, it may not even happen either. But kind of like insurance, I thought, you know, I wonder how much the metal is. So when I went and checked on it, it was like less than $200. And I thought, you know, I'm going to go ahead and do that, because right now was the time to do that. I'm going to go ahead and put metal at all of the joints, and then I used 1/2-inch lag screws, 2.5-inch, and then the other places I used through bolts and 1/2-inch, and bolted those together. So unless it burns down, or unless the bugs chew it down, I don't think that it's going to blow over after I get all of that metal in there. And you know, it will keep it from racking back and forth, and it'll just be a lot more solid. I thought I would answer that question because it comes up a whole lot. And burning the wood actually made it look really good. All those timbers, you know, when I get the other wood in there, which will be the T111 siding, I'll probably burn it just a little bit, just kind of like flame brush it, kind of like I did the compost toilet, and it'll be a big contrast between those dark posts and that T111 siding, and I think it'll look really good. Plus the fact that the upper portion, upper 8 feet, I'm going to go up about 4 feet with that, then the upper 8 feet will be sheetrock, and I'll be able to paint that and change colors and so forth on the inside of the cabin. Then of course the ceiling, my ceiling will actually be the bottom side of my roof. I'm not going to have an 8-foot ceiling. The roof will actually, the bottom of it, like I say, will actually become my ceiling, and that's where I will fasten my tongue and groove to, which will be yellow pine. I'm going to buy that because you know, here's another question that comes up. Why don't I look into a solar kiln, or why don't I use my own lumber to do this, that, and the other? Well, there are some things that I would just rather go ahead and purchase, and one of those is that, well, of course, was the flooring. I needed a subflooring, so I could have done that with raw wood, which would have shrunk at some point, but I needed a floor right now for the little puppy, and I didn't have time to do a lot more logging and saw it up on the sawmill, unless I just wanted to, you know, put building the cabin off for another year. So I decided to go ahead. It wasn't that expensive to get that OSB 3/4 inch tongue and groove plywood. That's what I put down. And yes, I've had a lot of comments that I didn't use glue. I used glue on every one of them. I just didn't film putting glue down until I think it was the last video, because it's kind of boring watching somebody spread glue. But they were all glued and screwed. There wasn't any nails in them. So that floor is going to be there to stay. But the idea behind the kiln, yes, you know, it would be nice to have one of those, but still yet I would have to wait on the material, and I would also have to go and log the material to do that. And I really don't have that kind of time that I want to spend, because I've got so many other projects that I want to do. So yes, I will purchase the yellow pine tongue and groove for the ceiling inside the cabin, and I think that even that in itself is going to make it the beams stand out a whole lot more too. Another question that seems to pop up from time to time too is, are you going to leave a way to access underneath? Well, I had framed out a 4-foot wide door when I was actually building the bottom of this. Okay, it's still there. It's a great big hole. There's one on this side and there's one on the other side. I also mounted lights and ran wires. Well, I ran the boxes for the lights. I still have to mount those, and ran all the wiring for the cabin, because regardless of what power source you have to have wiring and switches to turn everything on and off. So I did that. I left the black paper running across it because I don't want rain getting in there and making it wet on the inside. So it's right behind here. Okay, see, I can push on that. The stairs are kind of sitting in front of that end of it, but there's two. There's one on each end. So yes, I do have access on both ends of the house. Well, another question that keeps coming up is, why did you choose this kind of sawmill? I actually wanted the wood miser because, you know, I did a really good, I think, really good review on this sawmill. So if you haven't seen it, I would suggest go back and take a look, those of you who are asking questions about the sawmill. But the reason that I chose the Norwood was because I needed to mill the lumber. You know, that was my idea, to use the natural resources that I've got here. But also, you know, price. My budget, you know, was another factor too. The wood miser is a little bit more expensive, although I think that since they've been in business a long time, you know, the quality, you're going to get good quality. But I think the same, I can't really remember, but I think that the same type of setup for me to get on the wood miser was more like $8,000 to $10,000. Where this, I've spent $6,300 for it, and it may have been $6,385, but it's been a really good sawmill. I did check into it and do some research and read a lot of the reviews, and people had them, were very happy with them. So I went ahead and got one, and I'm happy with the two. I got really no complaints, other than the fact that, like I was saying on the other review, I made this little chute right here to point down instead of the holes that just shoot it straight out, because it primarily got dust everywhere, sawdust. And you know, this is not on wheels, so I don't pull it out in the woods where the logs are and mill those up and then bring them back here, which, you know, that is a possibility later. The idea was to bring the logs up here and mill them on flat, level place. Because the tractor I've got, you know, it's a compact tractor. It's got a narrow wheelbase, and it's hard to find a place around East Tennessee that's level. Jeff, when he was here, he said Not even the Walmart parking lot was level here. But yeah, so why did I choose the Norwood? Because it's still a good quality machine according to all the reviews that I read, and the price, it was very reasonable. And some of the others I felt that were cheaper, I kind of felt like, you know, a lot of times you get what you buy. I buy expensive clothing because I know that it's going to last. And, you know, I may get a t-shirt to wear outside, you know, maybe at some discount store. But just like these pants right here, I had some questions on these pants. These are good quality pants. I actually picked these up at Rural King. I'm going to check out what the name of these are and talk about a few pieces of the clothing that I got, because I get questions on that too. But they're kind of made like a Carhartt, but they're not nearly as expensive. What? You digging in the sawdust? Anyway, what? He's going to have a bath when he gets home tonight. The other question was, what size motor did you get? Okay, which that question came on the review, I think, that I did the review of the saw on. And I mentioned it in the video. This is a 16 horse twin overhead valve Briggs & Stratton engine. The HD36 has the next size up, which I think was 22 or 23 horse, I don't remember. This wasn't the smaller one. The Kohler and the Honda, they had smaller engines, if I remember correctly. So I wanted something that had a little bit of muscle to it, so I went ahead and got the 16 horse. Anyway, but yeah, guys, it's been a really good sawmill, so I would recommend it for the money and the quality. It doesn't seem to have you know, any issues. Okay guys, another question that comes up a lot is building permits. As I've said before, this is an undeveloped area, an undeveloped township, whatever you want to call it. There are no restrictions out here other than electrical and septic or sewer. When you wire the building, the electrical inspector will come and check it out. They do have the septic system tied along with that. You make a payment at the same place for it primarily, and those two inspectors, because they don't want waste, you know, running off into the creeks and different things like a lot of folks had done way back in the day. So other than that though, there's no inspections of any kind. There's no plumbing, there's no insulation, there is no building, there's no concrete, there's none of those inspectors exist as far as building goes out here. So I can pretty much do what I want to do. My footers, they're sufficient for being out here, because my frost line is only for the whole state is 6 inches, and I am 12 inches down. And I had built in this area before, and this is all setting on slate and red clay, and that's hard to move, that slate. So I'm not concerned about that footer going anywhere. Of course, this is the first timber frame that I built. Generally I would lay block like the other house. I laid 5 block high, then I put some flashing on, then I put a sill plate down for the bottom, and put my floor joist, and went from there up with the floor and so forth. But this timber frame, when I actually set those posts on the ground, not thinking about wicking, I went back and jacked those up, put aluminum plates underneath, and of course that whole bottom is going to be rocked all the way around. So that's another reason that I put the black paper down, because when I get ready to lay the rock, I've got fasteners in there that I'm going to dot here and there with fasteners, so that when I lay the rock, it kind of go in the joint of the mortar between the rocks, and it will hold the wall up to that where it won't fall over. So it actually will tie the rock in. but that's kind of a moisture barrier between the outside and the plywood or the OSB that I put on the inside when I built that little 2x4 knee wall that went around there. I'm also probably going to take and put tar paper around the bottom of those posts too when I get ready to put the rock on there. And then I will seal the bottom possibly with tar or something so that if any water does kind of get down underneath, those posts are lifted up, that it won't penetrate that. So it should, I think, seal everything under there. But yeah, the rock is going to kind of come up to the point where you see that bottom 1x2 that's going around holding the plastic on all the way around. Of course, this whole front's going to get a porch too, probably about 7 feet. It's going to be a porch and another awning coming out. And I'm going to do it kind of like I did the outdoor kitchen up there with the old wooden crooked spindles and all that kind of thing. You notice I've been kneeling down quite a bit because when I aim the camera at the floor, the light actually comes in. When I raise the camera up like eye level, it fades back out and makes everything dark, and it's because of that plastic. So, but I managed to get this piece up back here. I had to put in an extra stud back here because of where I needed to fasten this to. I got this build out right here complete. I've got the base mounted outside for the pipe that supports it, and I've also got the T mounted back there, and I've got the reducers set in place, reducing from, this is an 8-inch, reducing from the 8-inch to the 6-inch outside. So the only thing left now that I need to do, tomorrow I'm going to get a few sticks of just black pipe, just something temporary that I can run up past the edge of the roof out there to build a fire in here. I really need help up here to do certain things, and I don't want to start cutting on that roof up there until I have help. So I'm just going to bypass the roof and kind of get an S figure and just something temporary that will draw the smoke out of here. I also need to get the guys back up here to lift this up and set it on some of the cinder blocks that I've got out there. Bring those in here and get it up higher. That's the reason that this is down lower right here, because by the time I lift it and set it up, that's how much higher the stove is going to come up off the ground to keep the floor from getting really heated up, because the bottom, the metal portion right here, will be hot. So that'll elevate it a little bit and it'll just make it nicer. So I'll have to get them up here to help me lift this up and get some blocks slid in underneath there. But yeah, it's going to turn out really nice, and I think I'm about 1 day away from being able to put wood in there and build a fire. So that'll be really nice to have. Well guys, I'm going to go ahead and head in. I guess I need to go put that back up because it is getting late. The sun has already went down over the ridge, and the puppy, he's all dirty and he's going to have a bath. So, but I do appreciate you guys stopping by and hanging out. I hope that this new channel with behind the scenes, and it's more of a talk channel, answering questions, doing maybe some reviews of tools that I've got, and letting you know what I'm getting and how it's working, in case you don't have anything like that and you're looking to purchase it. Well, then I can recommend that. Like I say, I do appreciate you stopping by and hanging out. Don't forget about our giveaways here on this new channel too. And if you're new to this channel, our main channel is Smoky Mountain Outpost. Go there and check out. That's where you're going to see all the work being done around here. Guys, we hope you have a great evening. Take care, and we look forward to seeing you back up at the Outpost again next time.